Okay, Ms. Only, are you here with us?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We're starting a couple minutes late due to the previous meeting going over by those couple minutes. So I'll call the Rules and Appointments Committee meeting for December 8th, 2020 to order. And if you'll please take the roll.
Malinowski.
Here.
Kennedy. Newton.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, item number 2, after call to order, approval of the minutes. I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
I will second it. All in favor, any discussion? And if not, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the minutes passed. Next, adoption of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Okay, Ms. Newton, I will second it. If there's no discussion, Ms. Only, are there any additions, deletions, or changes?
Yes, sir. We were gonna add the Richland Memorial advertisement.
You are right. Okay, there was going to be, for Ms. Newton, I don't know if you're made aware of this, but an individual had to resign the Richland Memorial Board because of moving out of the area, I understand. So that would leave a vacancy. So we were going to add to advertise an additional opening for the Richland Hospital Board at the next time that the clerk does all the rest of our advertisements that have previously been approved. So if there's no question on that, we would adopt the
Mr. Chair,
as amended. Yes, ma'am.
I do have a question on that. When, Miss Only, would the next time that we do advertisements be?
I think it's in February is what I heard.
Yes, sir. You're correct. The first meeting in February would be when I would advertise.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move to adopt the agenda as amended.
Okay, and I will second that. If there's no additional discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that is approved. Next are the interviews for the Richland Library Board of Trustees. We have Kimiko Myers and William P. Stork. I see Mr. Myers is with us right now. So Ms. Only, if you will advise Mr. Myers of exactly what we'll do to conduct this interview.
Yes, sir. Mr. Myers, we will be going into a breakout room so that the committee members can speak to you privately. You'll get a prompt on your screen to join the breakout room in just a few minutes. Give me a second. I'll set up the room for y'all.
Okay.
Mr. Malinowski, while she does that, what number do you want the memorial board to be on our agenda?
Yeah, we didn't put that down there, did we? Let's do it as 4B, right after the interviews.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, there's the join prompt. Ms. Only, are you back also with us?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that could be why this is not on tonight's council agenda too, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Well, then I guess there's no discussion needed on the two interviews at this point. And the next item of business we have, which will probably take the remainder of the meeting, is the comprehensive review of the council rules. 4B, the advertisement for the Richland Memorial Hospital Board. So,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
I move that we advertise the vacancy for the Richland Memorial Hospital Board at our next advertisement period.
And I will second that. You've got that motion, Ms. Olney?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and if I forget tonight during the meeting, could we make sure we add that to the agenda?
I'll remind you.
Okay. Thank you. No, if there's no further discussion, then we have a motion and a second on that. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now the next order of business is 5A, to continue with the comprehensive review of the council rules. And it shows it as being on pages 15 through 100 of our agenda. We last finished up, and let me get the correct page, and it was item number 2.4 of the council rules. 2.4 is on page 28 of our agenda.
Points of order.
Yes. Go ahead, Ms. Newton.
No, I was just clarifying that it was points of order. I was not making a point of order.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I'm looking at the red line version, and 2.4, the proposed new rule censure.
Thank you.
Okay, so there's an awful lot written there. And, I don't, the only comments that I made on my notes were in the second paragraph, the second line where it says requires it starts at the second line, it goes to the third line, and it says requires a 2/3 vote of the full council, i.e. at least 8 of 11 council's 11 members, whether a full council has been seated or not. And down below on the very last paragraph, it starts with at the conclusion. If you go down to the end of the third line, it says the exact same thing. And I'm wondering if there's really the need to repeat it. If we could just have somebody check that out. Am I missing the reason for it being said a second time here, since we said it once at the top? And then 1, 2, 3, the fourth paragraph, the very last sentence, which starts one up from the end of the paragraph, the members subject to the censure proceedings shall have up to 15 minutes to speak in reply. I have to go over here to another page, and this was something that was brought in by Mr. Manning, I think. He made a comment, and it's on page 61 of an old agenda of mine. It may be 61 here too. Do we go that far? No.
Yes, it's on page 60, I think.
There you go. It's on page 60, correct. And Mr. Manning had circled that, or had made comments, and he says that in the right column, I think this should be absent leave of a majority vote of the body. And underneath he says, if 8-member vote for a censure proceeding, then these rules allow for those 8 to speak for 5 minutes twice. Thus the potential for 80 minutes. I think this member subject to censure proceeding should be allowed the same number of minutes to speak in reply, I guess it is. So we need to kind of take that into consideration and respond to Mr. Manning's comments on that. Your thoughts, Ms. Newton, or legal, if you don't.
Well, first, so there were 3 things. And so one was your suggestion that we eliminate the repetition of the number of required votes. Right. But as I'm reading this, I'm not sure if those are actually the same. Is it that it's 2/3 vote so that you can commence the process of discussing censure, and then again a 2/3 vote to actually censure, or are they both saying the same thing? This says a motion to commence censure proceedings on the
okay, and the
requires a 2/3 vote.
The next one would be to make a motion to censure.
Yes,
correct.
That's the way that I'm reading this.
Okay, so I guess we would need it there also, correct? Okay, so scratch.
Yes, because
you've answered it. Thank you.
And then in terms of Mr. Manning's point on the first one, in terms of determining how many people get to speak, generally speaking, the chair is the presiding officer for the meeting and makes those determinations. And so I think it would be most consistent with our other rules and Roberts to continue to leave that determination in the hands of the chair personally. And then in terms of allowing the person who is proposed to be censured to speak for longer, that's something that I'm comfortable with. Again, I think that there should be some discretion that the chair has, because just because the other people speak for 80 minutes, which would indeed be a long time, doesn't mean that the person necessarily needs to speak for 8 minutes, but that they should have leave to speak for more than 15 with the approval either of the chair or the body, I think makes sense.
Yeah, and I can see Mr. Manning's point here. If you were to rebuttal every 5-minute talk, you yourself may go up to the 5 minutes. So maybe somewhere along here, we need to possibly, I don't know, is it proper to have the member that is up for potential censure to speak after each council member, so they don't have to keep a long list of notes and then we come back and we forget what the council member said and what they're addressing? And possibly we need to let them speak immediately following, because then it says no member may speak more than twice. So while Mr. Manning gives the 5 minutes times 8, that's right, twice in 40 minutes. I mean, I don't know. Why would you be speaking twice if there was not some type of rebuttal that came your way?
So I don't know
about the first time. If you're limited to 5 minutes, you may put 10 minutes worth of information down, knowing you're going to get the second 5 minutes.
Mr. Malinowski,
sure.
Why do you have to have 5 minutes?
What's that, Mr. Livingston?
Why do you have to have the 5 minutes? Why can't it be less than 5 minutes?
Oh, it can. It just says in this proposed new rule, which came from legal, that that any member shall have up to 5 minutes.
But you're saying,
it may take less, correct?
You're saying 5 minutes twice, aren't you?
That's what it says in here. It says that no member may speak more than twice during the censure proceeding, absent leave of the chair.
Perhaps, could it be, I do think that if you have, theoretically, I don't know that it would happen, but if you have 10 members who speak for 5 minutes and then you have a rebuttal for 5 minutes, I think that that would be, the ping pong and back and forth would actually make it worse.
Yeah,
In this case, what if you had that any member may speak for up to 5 minutes, and then that no member may speak again without the approval of the chair, and then that way, you know, you've cut down the primary arguments for censure to a small block of time. You give the person an opportunity to respond, and then at the leave of the chair, unless you wanted to make it at the leave of the body, other people might be granted an opportunity to speak. But I don't know why you would need to speak again if it was kind of blocked that way.
And that's kind of what I'm driving at, using Mr. Manning's recommendation here, that I'm not so sure we need to have a member speak more than once. I think they should be able to be concise, get their information across, and 5 minutes is quite a bit of time. I mean, I would opt for 5 minutes and speaking more than once, because is the chair really going to turn somebody down that wants to speak a second time then? I don't.
Well, I think if, Bill, I agree. If for example, the person speaking may say something, and if someone wants to rebuttal, the chair just recognize that person to give the rebuttal, as opposed to giving them another 5 minutes.
Yeah, that would be fine. Sort of like a clarification type where you don't go on and on. So what kind of language do we put in here to get that the way we'd like it?
So I think it just, any member may speak for up to 5 minutes, period. No member may speak. You can just make it more than once, or you can make it again during the censure proceedings, absent the leave of the chair.
More than once during the, yeah. I would put it that way, more than once. Should we put in there with the exception
Sure.
of clarification and approval of the chair?
Since you have with the approval of the chair, I think that person could just say, you know, Mr. Chair, I'd like to clarify, and then you still have the same remedy. So I don't know if you need to mention.
Okay, so we right now are saying we should add no member may speak more than once during the censure proceeding, absent leave of the chair.
That would be my recommendation.
And I'm fine.
I'm okay with that too, because I think, 5 minutes twice is a bit much.
Okay.
And then the member subject to the censure proceeding shall have up to 15 minutes to speak in reply. And then just, but may be granted more time. I don't know.
Or should we put a reasonable amount of time as decided by the chair? I don't know. That seems like favoritism.
No, we better be more specific.
Yeah.
Okay. Additional time may be requested to respond directly to
like I said before, additional time and leave of the chair, but some kind of.
Well, additional time may be requested with permission of the chair. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe additional rebuttal time may be granted. Yeah, at the discretion of the chair.
There you go, at this discretion. Okay, additional, after 15 minutes to speak in reply, we're going to add additional rebuttal time may be requested. No, maybe, what was it?
Granted.
Granted by the chair?
Sure.
Okay. Additional rebuttal time may be granted by the chair. That will be our last sentence on that one. What about Mr. Manning's comment, which would be on page 60 now? No, that's not in the right column. He thinks it should be absent leave of a majority vote of the body. And I see what he's saying, because that, I mean, if the council is run in most instances by a majority vote, why should one individual dictate whether or not a person gets to speak for so long or not? Which goes back to what we
Because
just.
that's how Roberts works.
That's how Roberts works. So we're going to say if we're questioned, we're following Roberts rules. Okay. I'm fine with that. If you're fine with that.
Indeed, I am.
Should we move on?
Yes,
I move on.
because there are a lot of rules.
Yes, there are. Okay. The next page.
My problem is, Mr. Chair, I have about 3 different marked copies. I can't keep up anymore.
Just follow along with where we tell you to go.
All right.
How's that?
Yes, I'm using my notes from September 15th.
Yeah,
So you know what I'm talking about then?
I can't move to tell you the date because I'll lose where I am here right now.
Yeah.
Next, what we have that I had in the ones that we started with would be moving along to 2.5, 2.5, the old 2.42. It said points of order appeal. That whole section has been struck. And then it goes down. Well, it's been struck up there and down below. You've got A, point of order, motion to raise a question of order, and B is appeal. It's down below. It's kind of separated into 2 new sections.
Sure. And Mr. Chair, for your information, I don't have any additional comments until we get to item 3.1. So
Okay.
unless you have something here, I'm okay.
I did have something here. Let me get forward to the page where it's mentioned. On this one, the new 2.5A, if you'll go second line above the last one, it says, if the point genuinely requires attention at the time it is raised. Over on page, well, I had 62, it's now page 61 of
61.
the agenda. It said, this word is very vague. This word seems unnecessary. The word genuinely requires. So I think what Mr. Mann is saying, we should just say if the point requires attention.
Fine with me?
Okay?
Yeah.
I'm fine with eliminating that word. So we'll take out the word genuinely there. Then going down to 2.5B, appeal. The way it says, the duties of the chair include making rulings on question of parliamentary procedure, and appeal is the vehicle available to members of council who believe that the chair's ruling was erroneous. This appeal is in order when another has the floor, but must be taken immediately after the ruling and is out of order if other businesses intervene. It is debatable unless the underlying question is not debatable, or if the appeal relates to decorum or priority of business. It is not amendable. I think in here, we maybe should add that a legal interpretation can also be requested on the appealed matter, to give another option rather than just the chair's stating it.
In what way do you mean that? Because generally in Roberts, if you disagree with the chair, you can appeal the ruling of the chair, and then all members of the body would vote. And if the majority vote to appeal the ruling or overturn the ruling, then the ruling is overturned. In what way would you want a legal?
Well,
comment.
I'm just thinking that the only legal comment would be to make sure that we are in order in asking on that. We don't need it.
Okay.
If we're following, okay. Participation, down at 2.6. Just put omit on that one. 2.6 participation, it says, chair shall vote in all cases except when the chair may be personally or pecuniarily interested in accordance with rule 5.21. I put a question mark by that because we had rule 5.18, I thought is what it was. And let me try to find it here. There it is.
You are correct, Mr. Malinowski.
Has voting, so we need to change that number from 5.21 to 5.18. And it could be just because of the changes in numbers that we're having here, but I don't know. So Ms. Only, please make a note that on 2.6 participation, the second line, rule 5.21 should read 5.18. Okay. Then we're going on 2.8, the vice chair. I put a note there, page 63, which is going to be page 62 of our current agenda. On page 62, Mr. Manning's comment says, if I am reading this correctly, the chair can be removed, but the vice chair cannot be removed. Should be consistent. I would have to agree with them that if you can remove the chair, why wouldn't you be allowed to remove the vice chair? Or is there something in Roberts that does not allow that? Don't know.
I am not aware. I vote for consistency unless there's a problem.
Mr. Farrell? Wake him up. He didn't know we'd call on him.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, I mean, fortunately, I'm driving right now. I don't have that rule in front of me, but
Okay.
if you have the ability to remove, the chair, it would make sense for the ability to remove the vice chair if that became necessary. I think that would be an unusual circumstance if you did both in the same meeting, but I suppose that's possible.
Okay, then
At Richland County?
That would be nice.
I think then I'm in favor of adding the same language for the vice chair as we have for the chair. Is that fine with you, Ms. Newton?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Only, if you'll make that note, please, so we can get that recommendation to the full council when we actually get there with this. The next one I have is at the top of the next page, which is page 31, I'm sorry. It's gonna be top of page 31, third line up from the bottom of the first paragraph. The chair may note for the record any member's absence. Over to page.
What number is this, Mr. Malinowski?
It's right above.
What rule number?
Right above 3 point. It's under 3.2 attendance, but it's on the next page of that.
Okay.
Where it starts. And
It's on page 63 of what I have.
Yes. On the new agenda, page 31, the chair may note for the record a member's absence. Mr. Chair, before we do that, could we go back to 3.1? They're just some small Scrivener's errors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, go
So
ahead.
this is just a Scrivener's error on 3.1, the end of the first line, beginning of the second, chair and vice chair of council.
Right. Okay.
Then on item 3.2, well, actually, that's where you were. But I'll just go ahead and say in the last line, therefore is missing an E.
Yeah, I've noticed that with legal, they miss more E's on that than they don't. And I don't know if that's the legal way of writing that word or not.
Well, if it's the special way to spell it, then let's be special. But otherwise,
I
that's
mean,
that's
yeah,
the way that I know.
that's the way I know.
Yeah,
it.
sorry. There's occasions where it doesn't mean the same thing as therefore, and then where you explain what the therefore means. It's like I don't have the sentence you're looking at, but there are occasions when you would do it without the E. But I'll take a look because I very easily could have put the wrong word in there.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Only, if you'll make a note of that, maybe get Brad that info so he can find it when he lands. Okay, so that takes care of that. And then we went to, I don't know where we went to. Where was, oh, here.
And then I have, again, a small Scrivener's error on 3.4.
Okay, wait.
Just as we were.
Wait, I want to go back so we finish up 3.2. And
Okay.
3.2, I wrote page 64, that'd be page 63, I think, of the current agenda. On page 63, yeah, the word may, the chair may note for the record, and Jim wrote, I think this should be shall or must. If a council member notifies the chair, it should not be their discretion as to whether or not they choose to report the information. So it should say, I agree with them. The chair must note for the record any member's absence in circumstances, therefore, as appropriate. Are you fine with that, Ms. Newton?
Agreed.
Okay. So Ms. Only, please make note of that one. And that is on, the comment is on page 63 of our agenda. We're referring over here to page, whatever it was, 31. Okay. Now we go, which one did you want, Miss Newton, 3.4?
3.4.
Okay, go ahead.
Just the Scrivener's error again, because the sentence was modified so much. The chair shall hear from members desiring to insert the word speak.
The chair shall
In the order.
desiring to speak. Yeah, I've got that written here also. Okay. I have that one. And down below on that one, you go partway through where it says no member shall speak more than twice on the same question without leave of counsel, except merely to explain meaning. Would it sound better to say except merely to provide clarification? I mean, to explain meaning just sounded awkward to me, but to provide clarification sounded more like what we do when we ask for it.
I am flexible either way.
Yeah, I'd like to see to explain meaning taken out and have the words provide clarification put in their place. And then we only got 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes. Further down the last line, if a member shall be called to order while speaking, such member shall forfeit the floor until the question of order is decided. I do not know what that means.
All right, what was that again?
The sentence says, if a member shall be called to order while speaking, such member shall forfeit the floor until the question of order is decided. I don't know what that sentence is saying, really.
Is that in the, what color font is that in? Is that in one of my comments or?
No, it's an old one. It's an original one, it looks like, Brad. It's 3.4 speaking. So
I got you.
why don't we
Yeah.
start with that one on the next one, Miss Only. We'll start with 3.4 speaking, get an explanation of what that is, and pick up there if that's fine with you, Miss Newton.
That is fine. I will write that on my September 15th agenda here.
I say that, aren't we only scheduled till 4:30 or we have till 5? Ms. Only?
You have till 5.
We have till 5. We'll just keep going then. All right, we'll have Brad come up with a response to that for the next meeting at 3.4. And original papers. And it says any member leaving this is 3.5. Any member leaving a meeting of council or its committees who possesses original papers relating to the business of the council, signed ordinances, contracts, etc., shall leave original papers with the clerk before departing. I think we need to actually define what original papers consist of and not put too little examples, signed ordinances, contracts, and follow up with etc. I think we should have a little bit more complete list of what it is, and if somebody does that, is it a violation of council rules? What punishment there may be?
Yeah, that sounds to me like if you had like the official document or something like that. I mean, I don't think this is the same. Sometimes in executive session, people will say, "Hey, pass back the paper so we don't have stuff kind of floating around." I don't think that's what this rule is probably intended to do. I think it's probably just to make sure that so the chairman has the blue ink signature on something. Make sure we hang on to that one. That's what would be my guess.
Yeah, because the way it says signed ordinances, contracts, etc. Well, there are a number of resolutions that are official that council members leave with. But it's original paper. But I don't know that would come under this. I just would like to see a little more clarification on 3.5.
Yeah, that would probably be contracts, ordinances, resolutions, and proclamations. I mean, it probably to do that, and then or I don't know, et cetera, even around the same problem, but or official. I mean, that's really council speaks in either an ordinance, proclamation, or resolution would be the three things in the contracts. That's an additional thing, but those would be the four categories that be, deeds, I guess, would come to mind.
I don't know what council members would be doing, holding original copies of contracts.
Yeah, I don't either.
So, okay.
And perhaps if we provided the intent, and the intent here is that the original copies of documents that, for lack of a better word right now, belong in the safekeeping of council or the county office, because if you do, for example, a resolution honoring, let's say, McIntyre Joint National Air Guard Base, and I take that original document with me because it's intended to be delivered to them, I don't want to be violating council rules because I'm fulfilling the original purpose of the document. But there are other documents which are actually required to reside with the county. And so that's why I'm suggesting we go by intent. So we list these specific examples, but state the intent so that if you have some other document that has a different intent, then we're not troubled by that.
And that's a very good suggestion. I agree with that one. Okay. Following speaking original papers, Rule 4 committees, 4.1. Standing committees. Under A.
I have a question about C when we get there.
Okay. Under A and B both, where it talks about the committee, should we add in there meets on the third Thursday of each month? So that people.
Would you want that to be a rule though, even though that is when they meet customarily? To make it an actual rule means that you'd have to change the rules anytime, not that it happens frequently, but that you want to change the meeting date.
Well, I think somewhere in here we indicate that council meets on the first and third Tuesdays of each month, but council has the privilege to change those as need be. Look at right now, for example, all these special called meetings that we have, depending on the time of year and what needs to be done. We could say ordinarily meets on the third Thursday, or third, excuse me, on the third Tuesday of each month.
Sure. I would prefer that we add the ordinarily or customarily language just again, so that we don't have to actually change a rule to affect that change.
Okay.
Should we
that's
desire
fine.
to.
Sure. Ordinarily meets on the third Tuesday of each month, and that would be for A and for B. And now you have something for C. Go ahead.
Yes. So for C, it specifically states how the appointments are going to be advertised or how the vacancies are going to be advertised. And I guess my question would be, number one, does it need to be in here? And if it does need to be in here, how we advertise the position, then I feel like it needs to be updated, because this is a very, in today's world, antiquated requirement for advertising, that we're going to do it in the local newspaper versus our website, electronic communications. There's so many other ways to advertise vacancies that I think this should either be removed or it should be more accurate.
Okay, where exactly are you referring to in here?
Okay, the second paragraph of rules and appointments, the first paragraph says how many members are in the committee.
Right,
And then
right.
the second one says the vacancy on the county board, ... shall be announced. Such vacancy will be advertised in a local newspaper. That is the only place that it is required to be advertised. And I think that our board opportunities should be advertised as broadly as possible, including, but not limited to, the local newspaper, the county website, the county communication channels, or however you want to word it. But
Okay, Miss Only, where are all the locations that you can think of that these positions are advertised right now?
Right now, they're put in the state newspaper, the Free Times. They're on our website, and they are included in the weekly review that PIO puts out.
Mr. Manners, let me ask a quick question. Ms. Only, is this advertising any different from advertising for our public hearings in terms of who you advertise with?
No, sir. It goes through Braun and Sarah, and then they place it in the in the state and the Free Times.
But I'm saying it, but is it handled the same way we do public hearings?
Are you talking about legally or practically?
Practically.
Okay.
Is there anything wrong with legally advertising in as many places as you feel there's a need to, Brad?
No, sir. That's what I was getting at, is like, because the public hearing, that's a FOIA thing. This your appointments is entirely your own rule system, however you want to advertise them.
So Ms. Only's been violating the rule here because she's advertising in more places than local news.
Well, I think anytime you go above and beyond, now you're in the aspirational realm, and
You're
that's you're safe. Yeah, that's right.
There you go. That's fine. Okay, so we'd like to add, Ms. Only, such vacancy will be advertised in a local newspaper, and I think in parentheses an S for newspapers. The Richland County website, the weekly review of the Public Information Office, and I think, and any other venue.
appropriate media.
Anyway, yeah. What'd you say, Ms. Newton? Appropriate media.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Mr. Livingston?
Now, I'm about to tell you, I apologize, I don't have to leave you because I got to do a little something before my 5 o'clock economic committee meeting. So,
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, bye. Thank you. Okay, also, while we're on it, if you look down to D,
It's a repeat.
it's a repeat, except in D, they have crossed out the words where it says body for applicants. My suggestion was to eliminate the first paragraph of that and keep the one that is D.
Okay.
And then where it says consists of 3 members, functions as a review, oversight, and advisory board. I don't know that it's really an oversight board. I would eliminate the word oversight. Oh, it has been, hasn't it? They've crossed it out. As a review and advisory body and serves as an interviewing and screening body. I don't like the word screening. I would say recommending body. What do you think?
Sure.
Okay. So Ms. Only, we're going to eliminate C, add those changes for the advertisements in paragraph 2 into D. And also we're going to add in the first paragraph that it is an interviewing and recommending body. All right, let me go back here. We had something on page 65, which would be page 64 of the agenda from Mr. Manning. Oh, he just said, which one is the real one? Well, we've just handled that. We're taking the second one, D. Turn to the next page, Economic Development Committee, which is D. It says consisting of 4 members through December 31st, 2001 and thereafter. My question is, why do we need to keep that in there? That's 20 years ago. Or is it for legal purposes, Mr. Farah? Is under
No, I don't think that's relevant at this point. That's usually you'll see that in there if you're starting something at an odd time of the year. It doesn't fall, either on the fiscal or the calendar year, and you kind of are tidying up a loose end. But that's probably can be long gone.
So let's strike that and just start Economic Development Committee with the words consisting of 3 members and then the rest of it. Let's eliminate consisting of 4 members through December 31st, 2001.
Yep.
And
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So I'm fine with the striking of the old language, but the more that I've been thinking of this, you may have some historical knowledge. It appears to me, given the importance of the Economic Development Committee and the number of times that we're sitting in full council where more members are wishing that they had additional information, I think that council would be better served if that were a 5-person committee as opposed to a 3-person committee. I'm not sure. Every other committee is made up of 5 persons, with, of course, the exception of this one, which would be cumbersome.
And the only way that I believe it can be changed is you would have to make a motion and get it in to be vetted and then the full council vote. Would that be correct, Mr. Farah?
Yes, sir. That would be if that's that would is that committee? That committee is provided for by ordinance, is it not?
I thought it was.
Yeah, if it is by ordinance, then you would have to do it that way. If it's a function of the chair's prerogative, then you could alter it. But if it's ordinance, it's 3 readings, public hearing.
Okay, Ms. Only, can you check into that, please? Make sure that if Economic Development Committee in the letter D under 4.1, if that's by ordinance, and then advise Ms. Newton and she could create a motion to change that number of
Yes, sir.
committee members. Thank you.
Thank you.
Then we go to, let's see, 4.3, 4.2 organizations. 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th line. Committees shall be filled in a similar manner. I go to page 65 of the current agenda. And on page 65, Mr. Manning commented that, does this refer to similar manner as in the sentence above or the original appointment process? What's he talking about here? Sentence above.
I think he's referring to, is he saying that our committees will select a chair and serve as advisory committees? Is he saying that, or is he saying, I think he's saying, is this referring to the way that committees elect chairs, or is this just saying that the mechanism by which a chair appointments, not chair appointments, pardon me, committee appointments are made will be done the same way? So what is being done in a similar manner, I think is his question.
Okay, during the remainder of the year, any vacancy occurring on these committees shall be filled in a similar manner. And that's where it says each committee of council shall select a chair and function as an advisory committee. Now, now that's as an advisory committee or as advisory committees. We got to change that wording to one or the other. To the full council.
That sentence is just weird, actually.
Yeah. Once appointed for the year, no member of a committee may be removed by the chair of council without the approval of council during the remainder of the year. Any vacancy occurring on these committees shall be filled in a similar manner.
Could we just strike in a similar manner and have as soon as may be reasonably accomplished?
Yeah, but I think what Councilman Manning is getting at, he wants to know what the procedure will be. Will it be done by the chair? Will it be done by a vote of council? If the council voted to eliminate that person from the position, or what?
Well, unfortunately, we have had this occur this year. And when that happened, the chair.
Right. So I think for clarity's sake, we need to address Mr. Manning's comment here, or question. Maybe, how about during the remainder of the year, any vacancy occurring on these committees, we could say shall be filled as described above.
The problem is we don't really describe it. We don't really say how. It says the chair of county council shall appoint the members of the following standing committees. So could we not just say by the chair? So during the remainder of the year, any vacancy occurring on these committees shall be filled by the chair as soon as it may be reasonably accomplished?
Let's go back here and see. The chair of council shall appoint members of the following standing committees. So it says the chair shall appoint the members of these committees. So what was that you said again? Say it again.
Any vacancies occurring on these committees shall be filled by the chair, or if we want to make it active voice, during the remainder of the year, the chair shall fill any vacancy occurring as soon as it may be reasonably
And that's what I'm thinking also, so either way, it's less words doing it passive during the remainder of the year. Any vacancy occurring on these committees shall be filled by the chair. Is that fine?
Yes.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, I don't have any additional changes until we get to item 5.18. So anything else would be changes that you or other council members suggested.
Okay, and there's only, you'll get that one on 4.2. I mean, it's on page 65 that I'm at where it says shall be filled by the chair. Okay, that takes care of that one. And then you're at 5.0. I've got some other things here. And at the end, under agendas, 4.4. At the 4.4 agendas, at the end of that first paragraph, says delivered electronically to the county administrator's office no later than 5 p.m. on the date 2 weeks prior to the committee's scheduled meeting date. I think we need to. I didn't know if we needed to put in here. No, let's just skip that. I don't know what that's doing there. Over here, the paragraph right above meetings, agendas with backup information, right above 4.4, that last line. Agendas with backup information shall be provided to all members of council on or before the Friday prior to the committee meeting. Do we need any change in this particular language? Because to specify that county departments are getting the information to the individual making up these committee agendas. Or they're making up the council agenda, because many times I'm getting a call or I'm calling in and asking about the agendas, and I'm being told by the clerk that, well, I'm waiting on this department or that department or economic development committee to provide me the information, or economic development is waiting for the city to give them information. Now, if it's not something that's the old time sensitive matter, I think we need to start telling folks, here's the rule, and we need to have it. Because next thing you know, I'm driving down to the county building on Saturday or Sunday to pick up information that I should have had on Friday. And the reason I say on Saturday, Sunday, because a lot of this stuff that we get, especially from economic development, is so lengthy. And it's not just them. I'm not picking on them. There's a lot of other information that's coming in from other departments. The sewer people, for example, gave us a huge amount of information on an amended agenda that came in a relatively short time before the meeting, 70 some pages. And it's not fair to the council members to be expected to read and digest what it is that they're actually trying to tell us in that short period of time. So to me, agendas with backup information shall be provided to all members of council on or before the Friday prior to the committee meeting, with limited exceptions or something. I don't think we need to keep going that because somebody didn't do their job when they should have done it, that the council members get punished by getting late information. I just throw it out there.
A few things.
There you go.
A few things, Mr. Malinowski. One is, I think that when we get back to the discussion about Horizon, that will affect some of these dates that we're talking about here. So I didn't exactly pay attention to them until we resolve that question. In terms of your broader point, my question, and maybe we need comments from staff on this, is how do we balance what you said, which I wholeheartedly agree with, the fairness to council members, that you get this document at the end of the day on Friday afternoon, and then you're supposed to digest hundreds of pages. before the council meeting and, you know, work your job and, you know, do the other things that you're responsible for doing. So I certainly want to do that. At the same time, I don't want to create something so limited that if there's something that's truly emergent, that we can't handle it. And so I think the language that you used was except in limited circumstances, which I guess we would have to define at some point. But my question again would be, how do we bridge that gap to where we really are expecting the documentation to come in a timely manner for us, but that, you know, I have no idea, let's say some amazing benefactor bequeaths, you know, $5 gajillion to Richland County, but we have to confirm acceptance within 3 business days. I don't want to miss that opportunity either because, you know, we couldn't get it on the agenda.
Right, right. As I say, there are the old time sensitive or exceptional circumstances, and I just think we need to add that language somehow in there. And Miss Only, if you would just please make a note for that particular last paragraph of 4.4, that review and address when we finally make decisions on the horizon meeting.
And also, Mr. Malinowski, thinking about it, an additional option that we might be able to pursue is use the language that you described, the except in limited circumstances, and that's what our rules say. But then from a process perspective with our administrator, we define, okay, Mr. Administrator, we want to make sure that we're allowing Richland County business to flow smoothly without putting it in our rules, but having a process. These are the times when we'll make an exception, but otherwise it has to be
Okay, so
submitted early.
right now, then we'll just put prior to the committee meeting, except in limited circumstances. Is that fine?
That's fine with me, Mr. Brown. If you're still with us, would you be comfortable leaving our rules fairly generic, and then from a process perspective and how we work together, we iron it out there?
Yes, ma'am. That's a good statement. I'll be agreeable to that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Administrator Brown. So Ms. Holmes, if you'll make that notation, please, to add except in limited circumstances. Under 4.5 meetings, we have a comment from Mr. Manning at the very end of that 4.5 sentence above the last line where it says must be approved by the clerk. Mr. Manning, on 66 of our agenda, Mr. Manning's comment is the approved by wording was replaced with other wording. And he writes 1.7C6 on page 8. I think there should be consistency. So and I agreed with him on that one. So if we had replaced language in 1.7C6, then that's what we should, I think, stick with. So if we could just get all that to read the same as only under 4.5 to agree with 1.7C6. And then moving along, at the end of the 4.5 meetings paragraph, I think this is where we need to address the electronic participation. These are still, Ms. Only, get me on in line here. We're still addressing the committee meetings. Yes, because it says a committee chair. We do not have anything that addresses electronic participation for committee meetings, and I think we need to. And my recommendation would be that no electronic participation would be allowed for committee meetings. And the only reason would be is due to the small number of people that make up these committees. We can wind up having 1 or 2 people there and nobody else because, hey, this is a good idea. I'll just call in. So I still think we need to, I would say to add the words no electric participation under 4.5, and that also to add ad hoc committees follow the same rules as standing committees. We've got all these ad hoc committees, but we don't have any rules for them listed here. So I would just like to add under the meetings there that ad hoc committees follow the same rules as standing committees. Ms. Newton?
Mr. Chair, I would like for us to come back and discuss this, but since it's 1 minute before economic development, I don't think
You're
we have time. So if we could come back and address this electronic participation again, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, we'll come back at 4.5. I'll make a note of that and have it. So if you or anybody needs to know, I'll have it here. 4.5 is where we'll start the next time. All right, motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn?
I'll second it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for attending.